When I first realized something was wrong, it didn't hit me all at once. It came in small, quiet moments, little signs I tried to ignore. The way he kept his phone pressed against his chest, the way he would smile at me but his eyes seemed somewhere else. I told myself I was imagining things, but deep down, I already knew. My husband, the man I had loved for over 25 years, was distracted by someone else. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when I noticed it most clearly. I had been standing by the kitchen window waiting for my son to finish his breakfast when I saw the text notification pop up on his phone, something that wasn't meant for me. My heart sank, but I told myself, it's probably nothing. I don't need to see this. But I did, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. There was a woman's name, someone I didn't know, and a tone in the messages that made my stomach twist. I didn't yell. I didn't confront him right away. I simply sat down at the table, hands wrapped around my coffee mug, staring out at the rain streaking the window. I could feel my chest tightening with every passing second. How could someone I trusted so completely choose this over the family we built together? And yet, I loved him still. I always had. Days went by like that, silent, tense, filled with unspoken questions. I watched him, hoping for a sign that he would stop, that he would see what he was risking. But instead, I started noticing other things too. Late nights at work that didn't make sense, phone calls whispered in another room. The smallest details began to stack on top of each other until they formed a mountain I could no longer ignore. One evening, I found myself in the living room alone, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I thought about my life, about how quickly it could unravel, and then I remembered she was pregnant. My heart stopped. Not me, my daughter-in-law? No, not yet. My own daughter-in-law? My son's wife was carrying a life we were meant to celebrate, yet she disappeared from our lives, vanished without a word. I still remember the moment I realized it wasn't just distraction anymore. It was betrayal, and my heart felt like it might shatter. I wanted to scream, to run, to make sense of it all, but I couldn't. I could only sit there, trembling, staring at the empty chair across from me, thinking how cruel life could be when you weren't paying attention. I knew regret was coming. I could feel it. It was hovering in the corners of the house, in the rain tapping against the windows, in the silence that followed every unanswered question. I just didn't know. I didn't know how far too late it would be. If you're following this story, don't miss the next. Things are about to take a heartbreaking turn. Hit the like button, share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel so you never miss an emotional journey like this. I've always believed family is everything. My home was full of laughter, chaos, and love. My husband, James, was the kind of man everyone admired. Charming, funny, and protective. He could make anyone feel special, and for a long time, I felt like the luckiest woman alive. Our children were our world. My son, Marcus, had just married the love of his life, Tasha. She was radiant, kind, and smart. I had welcomed her with open arms, believing she would be part of our family forever. Life wasn't perfect, of course. We had our disagreements, small arguments about chores, money, and birthdays, but nothing serious, nothing that made me question the foundation of our family. I always thought love was enough to keep us together. I thought that as long as we communicated and forgave each other, nothing could break us. Our house was always busy. Mornings were hectic, the smell of coffee mixing with the sound of children getting ready for school. Evenings were calmer, filled with the soft chatter of dinner conversations and the clinking of dishes. Those moments, ordinary as they seemed, were my favorite. I would sit at the kitchen table, sipping tea, listening to everyone talk about their day, and feel the warmth of belonging. That was my life. my safe place. When Marcus and Tasha got married, I was overjoyed. I bought Tasha a small gift, a delicate necklace, and told her, "You're part of this family now. We love you." She smiled and hugged me tightly, and I thought that was the moment our bond solidified. I never suspected that even then, small cracks were beginning to form, cracks I couldn't yet see. James was working more hours lately, and I didn't question it. I told myself he was just tired, stressed, like all of us. I noticed him checking his phone more often, but I brushed it off. I thought maybe it was work, or maybe he needed a distraction. I didn't realize distraction could be the beginning of betrayal. I tried to focus on the small joys, the way Marcus would laugh at Tasha's jokes, the way the grandchildren ran around the yard, the smell of Sunday dinner cooking in the oven. I clung to these moments because they felt safe. I believed our family was unshakable, that love was strong enough to survive anything. But love isn't always enough when trust is broken. Little did I know that behind the smiles and warm dinners, secrets were growing. Secrets that would shake everything I thought I knew. And it all started quietly, so quietly that I almost didn't notice, until it was far too late. If you're following this story, don't miss the next things are about to take a heartbreaking turn. Hit the like button, share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel so you never miss an emotional journey like this.
It started with little things, tiny moments that seemed unimportant at first, but slowly began to weigh on my heart. James would leave the room to take a call and stay longer than usual. He would smile at me when I asked what was wrong, but there was a hesitation in his eyes, a look I couldn't ignore. At first, I told myself I was overthinking, maybe I was imagining things, but something inside me whispered, "Pay attention, something is not right." One evening, I was folding laundry in the living room when I overheard a conversation on his phone. He thought I wasn't listening. He laughed softly, in a way he hadn't laughed at home in months. I didn't recognize that laugh. It didn't belong to me. My heart tightened as I realized it wasn't just distraction. He was talking to her, the other woman. I don't remember if I cried that night, or if I just sat quietly in shock, listening as the words confirmed my fear. Marcus noticed the tension too. I could see it in his eyes when he looked at me across the dinner table. "Mom, is everything okay?" he asked one evening, and I smiled softly, hiding the storm inside me. "Everything's fine, honey, just tired, that's all." But inside, I was breaking. Every laugh James shared, every secret text, every late-night call was a reminder that our family's world was beginning to tilt. Then came the whispers, little things Tasha didn't say but hinted at. I noticed she was quieter than usual, reserved. She would avoid eye contact, sometimes leaving the room suddenly. One day, I asked her gently, "Tasha, is something wrong?" She hesitated and said, "It's nothing, Mom, just a lot on my mind." I wanted to press further, but I didn't. I thought maybe she just needed space. I didn't know she was disappearing from our lives piece by piece. The house that once felt safe started feeling heavy. Every corner seemed to carry tension. The living room, the kitchen, even the hallway where pictures of our family smiled back at me. I caught myself listening for footsteps, for phone vibrations, for anything that might hint at the truth. I wanted to confront James, but fear held me back. Fear of what I would hear, and fear of what I might do. And then the small arguments began, not big fights, just tiny disagreements that never felt like themselves. I would say something, and James would respond with a tone I didn't recognize, polite but distant. He was present, but not really there. I tried to hold on to normalcy for Marcus, for the grandchildren, for myself. But the tension was growing, slowly, invisibly, like cracks forming in a wall we didn't notice until it was about to collapse.
It was during those quiet moments, folding laundry, sipping coffee, listening to the rain, that I began to understand the full weight of what was happening. Something was missing in our home, something I couldn't name, and no matter how hard I tried to ignore it, the feeling was undeniable. We were on the edge of a storm. I'll never forget the day it all became real. I had been feeling uneasy for weeks, a constant weight in my chest I couldn't shake. I tried to tell myself it was just worry, paranoia even, but my heart knew the truth. And that morning I saw it, clearer than ever, impossible to ignore. James was on the phone again, laughing softly, his voice low. I had tried to avoid confrontation, tried to pretend everything was normal, but something inside me couldn't let it go any longer. I quietly stepped closer, thinking maybe if I just listened, maybe I could understand, or at least prepare myself. The words I heard shattered me. Names, plans, whispers about meeting, about promises, about secrets I wasn't part of. The way he spoke to her, the tenderness in his tone, it wasn't for me. My hands shook. I felt cold and hot at the same time, my chest tightening so I could barely breathe. I wanted to scream, to run, to collapse on the floor and cry. But I didn't. I just stood there, heartbroken, realizing that my family, the life we had built, the trust we had shared, was being quietly torn apart right in front of me. And then the worst part hit me. Tasha, my sweet daughter-in-law, my son's wife, was gone, disappeared. I couldn't reach her. She didn't answer calls or texts. At first, I thought maybe she needed space, maybe she was busy. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The thought of her alone, vulnerable, carrying life and facing this chaos made my stomach twist. How could I have been so blind? How could I have let this happen under my watch? I remember sitting on the edge of my bed that night, phone in hand, staring at her name. My mind raced with questions I couldn't answer. Where was she? Was she safe? Did she know what had been happening behind her back? And most importantly, how could James betray us, betray her, betray me in the way he had? I felt a deep, hollow ache inside me. Not just anger, not just hurt, but regret. Regret for not noticing sooner, for not listening harder, for not protecting her when she needed me. Every memory of happy family dinners, quiet nights, and laughter now felt fragile, like they could crumble at any moment. That night, I cried quietly, letting the tears fall without shame. I didn't shout, I didn't rage. I just let myself feel the full weight of what had happened. I knew things would never be the same. And for the first time, I realized the depth of betrayal, the way it could silently grow until it consumed everything we held dear. Life had shifted in an instant, and while I couldn't change the past, I could decide how to respond, how to protect those I still had, and maybe, just maybe, find a way to heal. If this story has touched your heart, don't forget to like, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel so you can follow the rest of this emotional journey.
After that night, everything felt different. The house that once hummed with life and laughter now seemed quieter, heavier. I moved through the rooms slowly, noticing every small detail. The way a chair sat slightly crooked at the dining table, the way a photograph caught the fading light, the silence where Tasha's laughter should have been. It was all a stark reminder that things could never go back to the way they were. I tried reaching out to Tasha, again and again, but her messages never came. I worried about her constantly. My heart ached knowing she was carrying new life and facing uncertainty, feeling lost and perhaps betrayed by those she trusted most. I thought about how different things could have been if I had noticed sooner. The regret was sharp, like a constant whisper in my mind. I should have done more. I should have seen it. I should have protected her.
James, on the other hand, became quieter. He avoided eye contact, seemed burdened by the weight of his choices. We didn't fight. We didn't shout. There was nothing to say that could undo what had been done. But there was a heaviness, a truth that sat between us, unspoken but undeniable. I realized that some lessons in life are learned through pain, and some truths cannot be ignored. I spent hours reflecting on what had happened, on the family we had built, and on the trust that had been broken. I realized that even in betrayal, even in regret, there was a chance to find clarity. I began to understand that while I couldn't control James's actions or Tasha's disappearance, I could control how I responded. I could hold on to love, even in the face of heartbreak, and I could protect what mattered most to me. I focused on my children, on the ones still close, on the grandchildren who needed comfort and stability. I spent more time listening than speaking, more time observing than judging. Slowly, I began to see small moments of healing, a smile here, a laugh there, a quiet hug that said more than words ever could. These moments reminded me that even after betrayal, life still moves forward, and love, in its quietest form, can survive. It wasn't immediate. Healing never is. But each day I learned to forgive, not to excuse what had happened, but to free myself from the weight of anger and regret. I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply show up, even when your heart is heavy. And in that, I found a small sense of peace, a quiet strength I didn't know I had. I also realized something else. Life is fragile, and moments slip by faster than we realize. It's easy to take people for granted, to assume love is enough, until something shakes you to your core. And when it does, all you can do is hold on to what remains and cherish it with everything you have.
Looking back now, I can see how fragile life really is, how quickly the moments we take for granted can slip away, how easily trust can be broken, and how much strength it takes to rebuild even a small piece of what was lost. I spent so long focused on the hurt, on the betrayal, on the empty spaces where love used to be, that I almost forgot to notice the things that remained. I realized that healing isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending that pain never existed. It's about learning to carry it gently, to let it teach you, and to find the strength to move forward with your heart still open. I began to cherish the small things again, the laughter of a grandchild, a quiet morning cup of tea, the warmth of the sun on my face. These were moments that reminded me life still had beauty, even in its imperfection. I also learned something about love. Real love doesn't always look like the movies. It's not just about romance or excitement. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about forgiveness, not for those who hurt you, but for yourself. It's about choosing to hold on to what's good and letting go of what poisons your heart. James and I, our relationship will never be the same, and that's a truth I have accepted. But I've learned that holding on to bitterness does more damage than any betrayal could. I've chosen to focus on my children, my family, and myself. I've chosen to protect the hearts I still hold close, and to let the rest of life's lessons shape me without breaking me entirely. Sometimes I sit quietly, thinking of Tasha, hoping she is safe, hoping she finds happiness and peace. I carry the regret with me, but I've learned to transform it into awareness, a reminder to never take the people I love for granted, and to always pay attention to the signs before it's too late. Life is short, and each moment matters more than we often realize. If there's one thing I want anyone listening to take away from my story, it's this: pay attention to those you love, listen more than you speak, hug a little tighter, speak words of care and truth.
Life may not give you a second chance to say what matters or to protect the hearts of those you love. And when the storm comes, as it inevitably will, you will find strength you never knew you had if you've kept your heart open. If this story touched your heart, please like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel to follow the rest of these real-life emotional journeys. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories to life.
It's strange how life teaches us lessons we don't always want to learn. Sometimes the lessons are soft, whispered through quiet mornings and simple conversations. Other times they hit us like a storm we cannot avoid. The story of my family, the betrayal and the loss of Tasha from our lives, it has been my hardest teacher, and slowly I've come to understand what it was trying to show me. The first lesson I learned is about awareness. Life moves quickly, faster than we often realize. We get caught up in routines, in work, in the comfort of knowing our world seems safe. But trust, love, and family don't thrive on comfort alone. They need attention. They need honesty. They need us to truly see the people we care about before it's too late. If I had noticed the small changes sooner, maybe things would have been different. But the truth is, we can only act in the moments we are awake to. That's why I try now, every day, to be present. The second lesson is about forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay, it doesn't erase pain, but it does release the heavy weight from your heart, the bitterness that can trap you in the past. I've learned to forgive James, not because what he did was excusable, but because carrying anger only stole pieces of my peace. I've learned to forgive myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for moments I could have acted but didn't. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself so your heart can continue to live fully even after heartbreak. And then there's love. Real love, enduring love, is not always easy or fair. It's not just about grand gestures or promises kept. It's about showing up. It's about listening, caring, and holding on to the good even when the world feels heavy. I have learned that love is stronger when it is rooted in understanding, patience, and resilience. Even after betrayal, love doesn't vanish entirely. It simply changes shape. It becomes quieter, wiser, and more aware of what truly matters. Finally, I've learned about hope. Hope is not blind. It's not wishful thinking. It's the quiet, persistent belief that life still holds beauty, even when shadows pass through your home. It's the awareness that the people who remain in your life, the moments that matter, and the lessons learned can guide you toward a stronger, kinder, and more compassionate self. As I sit in my home now, listening to the soft hum of life around me, I carry these lessons quietly in my heart. I carry them not as burdens, but as reminders. Life is fragile, trust is precious, and the moments we have to love and protect each other are fleeting. Pay attention, cherish the small joys, and always keep your heart open, even when it hurts. As I sit here now, reflecting on everything that has happened, I realize how much life has taught me about resilience, love, and the fragility of trust. The heartbreak, the absence of Tasha, the betrayal I once felt so deeply, they are all part of my story. And while the pain was real, I have learned that even the hardest lessons can bring clarity and, eventually, peace. I've come to understand that we cannot control other people's choices. We cannot stop life from throwing storms our way, but we can choose how we respond. I have chosen to respond with grace, with calm strength, and with a commitment to cherish the people I still have around me. My family, my children, my grandchildren, these are the treasures that remain, and I hold them closer now than ever before. I think often of Tasha. I hope she is safe, I hope she is loved, and I hope that someday she finds happiness in a life free from fear or hurt. Her absence taught me one of the most painful truths. Sometimes people leave, and you can't hold on to them no matter how much you wish you could. And yet, even in that absence, there is a lesson.
a lesson about awareness, compassion, and the importance of being present for those you care about while you still can. I also learned that forgiveness is not about excusing mistakes, it's about freeing yourself. I forgive James, not to forget, but to let go of the bitterness that could have consumed me. And more importantly, I forgive myself for the moments I didn't notice, the signs I missed, and the times I could have acted but didn't. Carrying anger only weighs you down. Choosing peace is the act of reclaiming your life, even after heartbreak. Life is fragile, yes, but it is also beautiful. I have begun to notice the small moments again: laughter in the kitchen, the sound of rain against the window, the soft warmth of sunlight through the blinds. These moments remind me that life is still full of hope, that love is still worth giving, and that even after pain, the heart can heal. If there is one thing I want anyone listening to take from my story, it is this: cherish the people you love, pay attention, speak your truth, and listen to theirs. Hold tight to the moments that matter, because life doesn't wait, and regret can arrive far too soon. We can't control everything, but we can choose to love, to forgive, and to move forward with courage in our hearts. If my story moved you, please share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel to follow more real-life emotional journeys. Your support helps us continue sharing stories of love, heartbreak, and hope.